Idiot. Run with me. It'll definitely catch up with us. Even if we use the houses as shields. Enri's eyes went wide, and Nympharia smiled to her. I'm stronger, so there's a higher chance I'll survive if you use me as a distraction. Nympharia cast a spell, and his body was enveloped in a bubble of soft, gentle light. What he said made a lot of sense, and she could not refute him. Seeing this, Nympharia smiled again. And besides, I want to protect the woman I love. Nympharia turned toward the ferocious monster, raising his fist and pointing his thumb to himself. Come on, big guy, I'll play with you. Come have a go if you're hard enough. Acid arrow. As Nympharia taunted the troll in a decidedly out-of-character way, he fired a green arrow of acid at it. As it hit, steam rose with the sound of hissing and bubbling, making the troll scream in agony, twice as loud as he had. The troll fixed its rage-maddened eyes on Nympharia. It paid no more attention to Enri. Go. Go and get help. It would be foolish to waste time here. You'd better stay safe. Saying that, Enri ran off. The troll did not look like it wanted to follow. Frankly speaking, his chances of survival were zero. There was an overwhelming difference in their respective physical capabilities. And there was no way he could triumph over a foe that needed gold-ranked adventurers to beat. It was a battle so hopeless that being able to hold on for even a minute was worthy of praise. Yup, I'm going to die. Nympharia smiled bitterly as he watched the troll, who was approaching him warily. It could not regenerate damage caused by acid and fire. Because of this, the troll was especially careful around Nympharia, who could defeat its greatest ability. It could have won straight away if it had just charged over, and under the circumstances, Nympharia could not help but laugh. Well, that works for me. Hypnotism. The troll's hostility seemed unchanged. It seemed to have resisted the spell. Realizing that it had been targeted by a spell, the troll charged. The gigantic body approaching him was like a scene out of a nightmare. If it worked, I could have held on a bit longer, no such luck. Ah, what a shame. Nympharia seemed to have given up. This was because it was a completely unwinnable battle, which had crossed the line from bravery to recklessness. But even so, he had to buy time for Enri. That thought was what drove Nympharia to move. Making note of the troll's upraised left arm, he ran forward and to the left. Seeking life and death, he plunged headfirst into danger to reach the safety beyond it. The troll's fist followed him, and the wind of its passing ruffled his hair. And in front of Nympharia, a mighty foot kicked out at him like a moving wall. Nympharea's vision spun wildly as he flew through the air, his body making cracking sounds like shattered tree branches. He hit the ground hard and rolled several times, like a piece of discarded rubbish. Pain coursed through Nympharea's body, which was still rolling over the ground. This was the most pain he had experienced in his life. But I somehow managed to survive. That's amazing. I'm amazing. He had hung on to life was because of the effects of his defensive spell, and the fact that the troll's footing had been poor when it had kicked him. Ignoring the pain that shot through him with every breath he took, Nympharia stood and loosed another spell. Acid arrow. The pursuing troll stopped in its tracks, wary of the pool of scorching acid at its feet. Just as planned. Nympharea's aim was to buy time. If the enemy stopped attacking and went on guard, he hoped it would continue to stay that way. Damn, this hurts. I don't want to die, Nympharia gave voice to his despair. In the end, this was all his life had amounted to. There were times when one did not want to face the facts, but the situation forced one to do so. This was such a situation. He would die here. There was no doubt that he would die. He wanted to run. Maybe if he ran with all his strength, he might be able to escape. But if that happened, what manner of tragedies would occur? Nympharia thought of Enri. He was able to fight because Enri was there. Well, I've already told Enri no. I don't want to die before I hear her answer. The ever-approaching troll could not understand the heart of a young man in love. He could not delay it any longer. He did not know how he had done it, but Nympharia managed to read his opponent's thoughts through its ugly face. It was determined to kill him, even if it got hurt. If that was the case, acid arrow. All Nympharia could do was wound the troll, in order to make things easier for his allies who would face the troll after him. The troll raised its fist, face twisted from the pain of being burnt by the acid. Nympharia, who was racked with pain, for whom even standing up took everything, he had no way of resisting the next hit. Diamond suit, please hurry. Led by Henry, the three goblins ran to save Nympharia. The reason they had met up was not because Henry had reached the main gate, but because Henry and Nympharia had not returned, and the howls coming from the rear had worried Jugemu enough that he had sent 3 goblins out to investigate. If only they could have held on, the goblins would have saved her and Nympharia. As Henry thought that, her heart was shredded by guilt. This was really a stroke of bad luck. If it hadn't been like this there. Henry pointed to Nympharia, in front of them. And towering over him, the troll was raising its fist. They could not reach him to help. The distance was just too far. The troll's hand fell like a thunderbolt. It could destroy a house in a single blow. Nympharia was dead beyond all reasonable doubt. Henry closed her eyes, and in the darkness she heard the goblins gulp in surprise. Their out-of-place response led Henry to fearfully open her eyes. Wow, your HP's in the red, you okay? And she saw a beautiful woman holding a gigantic weapon. Lupus Regina was carrying a huge weapon that looked like some sort of oversized religious symbol, holding it lengthways and using it like a shield to block the troll's fist. The weapon's size and the maid's slender arm seemed completely mismatched to the point of surreality, but this was no dream or illusion. Then, I'll take care of this guy. Oh wait, you're hurt, Enfi-chan. Heal. The troll stepped back from the incomprehensible scene before it. The blow which it had put its full strength into had been blocked by a human, so its reaction was only to be expected. No, perhaps it thought there was some kind of magic at work here. Nympharia had a stunned look on his face as turned his back on the troll, and limped away. It was a thoroughly unguarded posture, but the troll did not press the attack. No, it could not just ignore the newcomer who had stepped in to take Nympharia's place before it. Enfi. Henry hugged Nympharia tightly. Ah, it's you, Henry. His weak reply, as though he were dreaming, told Henry that he was at his limit. Although he was out of danger, he had still suffered great mental damage. I'm glad you're all right. Why, you too? Henry felt the warmth return to her heart, replacing the cold that had filled her in the moment when she thought Nympharia had died. I'm really glad you're fine. Henry hugged Nympharia tightly, with all her strength. So am I. Nympharia reached out his arms to hug Henry in return. Although they were embracing each other tightly, it felt very comfortable. Henry's tears welled up and spilled out, streaming down her face. What's wrong? Idiot. Ah, sorry to interrupt you too while you're making out. Lupus Regina-san. Henry let the strength flow from her arms, and at the same time Nympharia loosened his grip. Feeling slightly disappointed, they both turned to Lupus Regina. The troll shifting her line of sight, Henry saw something which was hard to describe. Ah, this Sue? Kinda looks like an uncooked hamburger patty, doesn't it? All it needs is a good charbroiling. A ball of blood-spattered meat shifted and twitched under the bloodied head of Lupus Crozier. There was nothing about the pile of broken flesh that suggested that it had once been a troll. However, what made it disgusting was the fact that it was slowly regenerating, and still breathing. Ah, well, it's good that the two of you are fine, Sue. Then I guess I can clean things up on my end, Sue. Henry heard the voices of the goblins approaching. It seemed like the battle for the main gate had been won. There you go. It looked as though fire had descended from the heavens as a pillar of red flame engulfed the troll, producing the stench of cooked meat. That takes care of the troll. Since my job's done, I'll be taking off. Ah, Enfi-chan, Ain-sama wants to reward you for developing the purple potion, so he invited you to his house. Hope your affairs are in order, Sue. Or should I say, any last words? After saying so, Lupus Regina walked off towards the rear gate. Thank you very much. Lupus Regina did not stop or turn back in response to Henry's shouted gratitude, only waved her hand. Ain-san, Ani-san, will take over the task of guiding the others. You two should go have some rest over there. The goblins walked off without waiting for a reply. Shouldn't they have left someone with us, Henry thought, but her concern for Nymphyria overruled that, so she lent him her shoulder to lean on. After leaving the corpse of the troll behind, the two of them sat down. Ha! The two of them sighed as one. Then, the two of them looked up almost simultaneously to the night sky. You were saved. MMM. It was just good luck. MMM. Don't do that again. MMM. Silence flowed between the two of them. Henry suddenly spoke the words in her heart. I don't know whether or not this is love, but I don't want you to go anywhere, Enfi. MMM, MMM. Is this love? I don't know. But if it is, I'd be very happy. Henry and Nymphyria said no more, leaning shoulder to shoulder, and watching the stars until the goblins arrived. Epilogue. Ain-san, looks like you're ready, Jugemu commented on Henry's appearance as he entered her home. Yes, that's right, is it odd? As she asked Jugemu her question, Henry looked down at the dress she was wearing, one of the best she had, which she usually reserved for the harvest festival. Not at all, don't you think, Ani-san? You're very pretty, Henry. Really? With a red face, Henry looked at Jugemu and Nemu as they smiled. Or rather, Nemu's grin was not just mischievous, it was downright evil. Ever since Henry and Nymphyria's relationship had taken a step forward, they had been looking at them like that more and more often. However, she realized that saying anything about it would only embarrass her further, so she had wisely chosen to keep her mouth shut. However, leaving it alone was dangerous too. Especially for Nemu. Sometimes, her little sister would ask questions that she could not answer. It just feels like she's suddenly matured mentally over the past few days. Maybe I should ask Enfi for help about this. Seeing the plea in Henry's eyes, her lover, Nymphyria, spoke. Ahem. Speaking of which, Jujuma-san, can you use that magic sword well? I heard it's not like normal swords, and using it is tiring. The great sword which Jugemu was holding had been obtained in the raid several days ago. I've gotten used to the sword's weight and center of gravity, so I can use it as well as my old sword. Its sharpness and so on are much better than the other one, but that's a magic weapon for you. However, the poison in here, it weakens the people it cuts, but it's a bit strange. It is? Is it a powerful effect? Well, it's not a particularly strong poison. Someone on my level can resist it easily. However, against weaker opponents, Jujuma's face took on a dark expression. What's wrong? Jugemu said as he looked to the ceiling, speaking in an irritated voice. I was thinking about the troll I got this sword from. There was something weird about it. The corpse doesn't seem any different from a normal troll. Maybe it was a mutant troll? No, I didn't mean that, Ani-san. From its movements, its lack of regeneration, the way it felt, when I cut into it, it felt weird, that's right, like a body that was already dead. Something bizarre and foreboding like that. A moving corpse? Like a zombie? I don't know. There might be a species of troll like that. Thanks for waiting. The door opened in time with that fresh and bright proclamation. With the sun at her back, Lupus Regina strolled boldly into Henry's house. As Henry and the others watched in stunned silence, a spang sound came from the top of Lupus Regina's head. Oh, you idiot. How could you be so rude? Everyone, I apologize on her behalf. After pulling Lupus Regina back, the woman in the back bowed to them. I am Ain-sama's maid, Yuri Alpha. I am here to receive Nymphyria-sama, Henry-sama, and Nemu-sama. I apologize for the intrusion. Yes. Please come in, Lupus Regina too. The woman who had entered with Lupus Regina had an otherworldly beauty, just like Lupus Regina. Then, once you're ready, we can begin the teleportation straight away. Teleportation? You can teleport? Nymphyria was practically shouting. Although Henry did not know why Nymphyria was so surprised, she could guess that it was a big deal. Was teleporting the warrior chief and the others a big deal too? No. This is not my power, but that of a magic item Ain-sama gave me. The horn, the potions too. He's amazing. He's so amazing I have no idea what's going on. Nymphyria's shoulders sagged. Sensing an opportunity, Henry decided to ask a question. Then, is it really all right for me to go? And my little sister too. Today was the day that the village's savior, Ain-sama, had invited Nymphyria to his home. However, she felt uneasy when she heard that even a mere village girl like herself could accompany him. Their host was a powerful magic caster, and they were people who lived in completely different worlds. The idea that she might accidentally do something rude made her stomach hurt. It's all right, Sue. Since we're celebrating Enfi-chan's new invention, his girlfriend En-chan can come along, no problem. Ain-sama said so too, Yano. Formality's not such a big deal. Lupus, mind your tone. Yurine, what's wrong with that? We're friends, right? En-chan? Yes. Yes. That's right. Yuri sighed with a HAA, then walked to the front of a nearby wall. Suddenly, a gigantic wooden closet appeared, as though from thin air. It was big enough for people to pass through with ease, and its exterior was intricately carved, so it looked like a decorative closet. Is that pocket space? No, this is too big, it should be a higher-tiered spell. Now then, please, enter. Lupus, can I trust the safety of this place to you? Understood Sue. The wooden cabinet should have been backed up against a wall, but when one looked inside, its interior seemed to stretch into another world. Yuri took the first step and walked through to the other side of the closet. She was followed by Nymphyria, and a little bit later, by Henry, holding tightly to Nimu's hand. There was no resistance as they passed through the wall ahead of them, and they found themselves inside a vast, grand pathway, flanked by statues on both sides that were so lifelike it seemed like they might even move. Yua, Nimu exclaimed softly as she looked up to the ceiling, her mouth as wide as her eyes. Henry held her to keep her from falling, and she looked up as well. Amazing. It was a dignified-looking passage whose floor was made of polished rock, upon which a colorful carpet had been laid to show the way forward. Henry was struck dumb with admiration. She imagined that this must be what palaces looked like. Please, walk this way. Yuri's voice snapped her out of her daze, and she thought of running a little to catch up with the two people ahead of them. But since that would be entirely unbefitting of a place like this, Henry merely quickened her footsteps to advance swiftly. After walking for a short distance, a wall appeared with a closet door upon it, similar to the one they had used to enter. However, there were two key differences. The first was that this door was several times larger than the first, big enough for several people to enter at the same time. The second was because they could not see what was inside it, only a thin, sparkling multicolored film. Then, please enter like you did previously. Henry and Nymphyria looked at each other. In that case, we'll go in together. Henry and Nymphyria linked their hands. From left to right were Nimu, Henry and Nymphyria, and together they walked into the door. In an instant, amidst a shower of pink petals, there was a vision of a woman in clothes, which were red on top and white below. Welcome. A harmonious chorus of voices greeted them. Looking around, they had arrived in an even more luxurious hallway, with 2 rows of astoundingly beautiful maids flanking them on both sides. At the end of a passage stood a man in a black robe that seemed to suck in all light from around him, wearing a bizarre mask. He was the savior of the village, Ain-sama. Henry froze in place, her mouth open. The chandeliers on the ceiling sparkled, and the white marble floor was spotless. A magnificent passage, and pretty maids all in 2 rows. It was like walking into a fantasy world. Lost in this ephemeral, dreamlike world, Henry accidentally lost her grip on Nimu's hand. The part of her mind that was not completely overwhelmed by her surrounding recognized this, and in the next moment, Henry snapped back to reality. Nimu ran ahead. Amazing. It's so amazing. Nimu shouted at the top of her voice as she ran. She ran down the 2 lines of maids, and towards Ains. Faced with a world that overwhelmed her emotional capacity, she could no longer control herself, and let herself run wild. It's super duper amazing. Nemu. Come back. Henry started running a fraction of a second later. She broke out in a sweat from Nemu's disgraceful behavior. However, this was a divine realm, where she was flanked by beautiful maids. The sound of her village girl's footsteps made her hesitate. Henry's self-contradictory footsteps betrayed how she felt, and in the end she limped along like a dying frog. While Henry was still limping along, Nemu had already reached the side of the village's savior. Is it really that impressive? Yup. It's really amazing. Is that so? Amazing, no, perhaps that's true. Ains reached out a hand, and quietly patted Nemu on the head. Is the place where I live truly that wonderful? Yeah, it's really wonderful. Did you make this, Gaon-sama? Ha 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 ha, yes, that's right. My friends and I did. That's amazing. Gaon-sama and Gaon-sama's friends are all amazing. Ha. Ha 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 ha. Clear and bright laughter reverberated through the hallway. By this time, Nfiria and Henry had nervously reached the 2 of them. Henry tightly gripped Nemu's hand, determined never to let go. We thank you for your kind invitation from the bottom of our hearts. There is no need for such formality. We are here to celebrate the production of your new potion. Be at ease. Gaon-sama, I am truly sorry. My sister Nemu has been rude to you. Really, think nothing of it. She was moved by the sight of my residence, was she not? Then that is no insult to me, Ains replied in a cheerful mood. Now then, while I had intended to speak to Nfiria-kun after this, Nemu, how about it? Do you want to see the home that I know, that we created together? Yes. I want to see. I want to see the amazing house Gaon-sama and his friends made. Nemu spoke before Henry could refuse. Ha ha ha. Very well, very well. I have such sights to show you. Henry was unable to speak once she saw the good mood Ains was in. Diamond suit, diamond suit, diamond suit. She settled down onto a recliner, remembering that she had been asked to wait in the receiving room while Nemu was shown around. Rather than say she was invited here, it would be more accurate to say that she was like a small animal that had been taken from its nest. She sat uneasily and looked around herself. Beside her, despite the size of this place, the 2 of them stuck closely to each other. Her lover Nfiria was also unable to keep still, much like a small animal himself. Henry could understand that her village's savior, the magic caster known as Ains Olgaun, was a mighty being, but what she had seen today went beyond her wildest imaginings. It was as though she had stepped into a shining dreamscape, or a story where princesses and other great figures took center stage. The fireplace was decorated with glass birds that had been carved to lifelike perfection. If she broke one, she could work her entire life and still be unable to pay for it. The sofa which she sat upon was exquisite, and Henry wondered if she was dirtying it with her clothes. The chandelier, the first she had seen in her short life, was not lit by torches, lanterns, or candles, but by magic instead. She had seen magic lights before in Erantal's Adventurers Guild, but they could not compare in brightness or style. The furniture was tasteful and luxurious. Of particular interest was the weightiness of the ebony table before her. Even though Henry had no idea how valuable these kinds of things were, she was still able to tell that this was a very valuable piece. A lifelike portrait of a beautiful woman hung on the wall, painted in intricate detail. Even the carpet on the floor made Henry hesitate to step on it with her shoes. It was so soft that as she sat on the sofa, she wondered if she ought to raise her feet so they would not touch the floor. Henry was so nervous that she was about to faint. I knew we should have gone with her. Although she could not refuse Ains, the idea of Nemu going by herself made her stomach boil in anxiety. I just hope she doesn't trouble Gaon-sama. It'll be fine, don't worry. Gaon-sama is very generous. I think he'll overlook any minor rudeness from a young girl. Ma'am, but, you see, if you anger a noble, you'll be executed. I've heard that too, but to be honest, I've never seen it before. Irantal and its surrounding territory are administered by the king himself, so I don't think the nobles would dare to make a fuss. Is Gaunsama a noble? Isn't he? Anyone with such a luxurious manner, and so many pretty maids would have to be a powerful noble, right? There's no way they could gather all these things otherwise. Is that so? To be honest, I don't think even a noble could assemble beautiful maids like these. Henry's eyebrows shot up at a dangerous angle. She had been the first to say that the maids were pretty, but when Firia said it, it made her feel unhappy. Just as she was about to glare at Firia, there was a knocking on the door. Aye. Henry's shoulders twitched violently, and because the two of them were pressed against each other, the twitch was transmitted to Firia, who shuddered as well. The knocking came again. Henry frantically thought about what the knocking meant, and in the meantime Firia opened his mouth. Please come in. My apologies. The way Firia had given the right answer with such calm mystified Henry, and what entered was a maid pushing a silver serving cart. She was a beautiful woman, dressed in sparkling clean and spotless clothes, which even an amateur could recognize as a high-class maid outfit. A gentle, warm smile adorned her face. However, Henry was worried that at any moment it would twist into an angry expression, as she exclaimed, "What are you two doing? The beverages are ready." "And no thanks." The maid's face displayed stunned confusion for a moment, as she parsed Henry's lightning-fast answer. Then she turned her gaze to Firia, and then back to Henry. Is that so? Yes. Perhaps she sensed how Henry was so tense that her body had frozen up, or Firia's innate nervousness, but the maid smiled, genuine and gently. She said a simple "my apologies," and sat herself down beside Henry. Then she gently placed a hand on the petrified Henry's shoulder. "Imat-sama, please do not be so tense. Both Imat-sama and Beru-sama are guests here, so all you need to do is be at ease and relax." But, what if we break something in here? Please be at ease. Ain-sama will not be bothered even if the objects in here are damaged. But how? All the things in here are. Even thinking about the cost of the things she could see in a quick glance around the room made her head hurt. And to think these items were not a big deal? Yes, Ain-sama is extremely wealthy. That I know. After all, he was the kind of man who could freely give out valuable and potent items such as those horns. Which is why I would like you to be at ease. Deliberate damage aside, Ain-sama will smile and forgive you for any accidents. And even if anything is damaged, it can be repaired with magic. Even if you say that, I understand. Then, please have a drink. That way, you'll be able to relax. But, Henry glanced at the tea service on the silver pushcart. They were exquisitely made of porcelain, edged in gold, and the reverse side was a vibrant deep blue, patterned with intricate designs. They looked delicate enough that Henry was worried that they would break the moment she touched them. "Henry, have a drink." It would be rude to refuse further. Thank you. Understood, I see. The fragrance and taste of herbal tea is an acquired taste. Would you rather have traditional black tea instead? Yes, please, thank you. The smiling maid prepared the tea for them with flowing, elegant movements. After rinsing the cups with hot water, she served the tea. In addition, she placed 2 more small containers before them. Please add the desired amounts of milk and sugar to taste. Henry opened the sugar pot. What she saw were white solids that resembled nothing so much as powdered snow. The village girl mechanically deposited several sugar cubes into her cup, stirring them until they dissolved. After that, she added milk. Then, Henry took a sip and felt like her face was going to melt. Sweet. I guess adding the sugar would do that. It's not often that you get to taste sweet things in the village, and you don't raise bees. If I'm not wrong, you only have something like syrup? I remember there was spice-making magic, but that's something else entirely. Henry forgot where she was, and exclaimed loudly. Try your hardest to recall it. After hearing him go yes and make other noises, Henry took another mouthful of the red tea, and the sweet taste let her heart calm down. Really, it's sweet and delicious. Just then, several knocks came from the door. The maid moved quietly over and opened it. Sama and your little sister have returned. As the door opened, Nemia rushed in, all smiles. Ains followed behind her. Nay-san. It's amazing. It's shiny and pretty and really amazing. As Nemia hugged her sister around the waist, Henry rose to bow to Ains, all the while taking care to not let her little sister's feet dirty the sofa. Gaon-sama. I apologize for any rudeness my little sister has showed you. Certainly not. Rather, I should apologize for keeping her for so long. There's no such thing. We're very grateful. Ains waved his hand to indicate that it wasn't a problem. Then before I discuss matters with Nfiria-kun, let us eat. We're imposing too much facing the panicking Nfiria, Ains replied with a calming gesture. This is to ensure my deal with Nfiria-kun later will be favorable to me. What do you mean by deal? I'll explain before we eat. Ains sat on the other side of the sofa. To begin with, I have no intention to openly market the potion you make. Or rather, without the ingredients I provide, you can't manufacture the purple potion. Do you agree? That's right. It's been difficult to get this far, even when we're using the material provided by Gaon-sama. There's still a lot of unknown factors, like how potent it is and what other effects it has. Therefore, offering it publicly would only cause problems. Although simply asking about the ingredients should be fine, we can't be sure that people won't try to take it by force, no? And from what Lupus Reginas told me,